Hello, I am Vishal Parikh. Today we will going to explore is more on shaping of our data. So in particular what we are going to explore today is we are today going to explore how we can work with a particular XML file and how we can parse our XML documents. Now the first question arises, what is XML? So XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. Now you may have a question that why XML is used or why XML has been designed. So whenever you want to store your data or whenever you want to transport a particular data, at that particular time we have to use XML. Now why it is designed? Because it is easily understood by machine as well as it is easily understood and readable by humans. Now why XML is used? So here you can see, because whenever we want to distribute data over the internet, at that particular time we have to use XML. Previous video of HTML, we have seen the use of HTML. Now this XML is nearly similar to that of HTML. But now what is the difference between an HTML and XML? So in HTML, what your lecture of HTML, what we have seen that we have to use its built-in tag. Now what is the advantage of XML? The advantage of XML is we can create our own tag and we can work over that. Now next what we will see is how an XML document can be created. Now the first of all, what is the hierarchy? So whenever we create a XML documents, the structure is like a tree data structure. So its structure is like tree. Now in XML documents we have different sections. So these particular sections are known as elements. Now you can see a tag. As we have seen in HTML, there is a tag. Similarly in XML there are also tags. So how you can create a tag? So for that we have to use angular brackets. So an XML document starts with angular tag and it also ends with an angular tag. Now there are different types of tags. So whenever you want to write an XML document, there must be a top level element. So what this top level element is known as? This is known as root element. Now what does it contains? So it contains all other elements that we can work with XML documents. Now when a particular tag is present, there is an attribute that is associated with that particular tag. So these attributes are normally a name value pair. So that exists within an empty bracket or within an empty element tag. Now let us see how a particular XML document looks like. So let us move towards the XML document structure. So here you can see is your sample XML documents. Now if you observe here carefully, the first line of the document is showing you the starting of XML document. So how it is starting? So for that first we have written here is XML tag. Before XML, if you observe, there is a question mark. So whenever you are going to write a XML document, the first thing you have to use is angular bracket, then we have to place a question mark, then we have to write XML. Now I have specified two different attributes. So the first is your version. By default we are going to use this version, that is 1.0. And the second attribute I have given here is standalone, and the value for it is I have given as yes. Now you can see that I have created a tag of my own which is named as bank account. Now here your bank account tag is your root tag. Now inside this bank account tag you can see there are different elements that I have created. So the first is number, next is type, third is opening date, next is balance. Then inside this we have also created another element which is named as account holder, and inside account holder again there are two sub elements which is last name and first name respectively. So here you can see the blue line which indicates that it is your root tag. The green line, it indicates the hierarchy, means inside the account holder element tag, we are having two different elements, that is last name and first name. It is also known as nested element. So this is your basic structure, and at the end here you can see this, we have ended our root element, that is bank account. Similarly, you can create any of your XML documents like this. Now this is a sample document of banking information. You can create any of them. Now next thing we are going to see is how we can parse our XML documents. So there are two different ways for parsing XML document. So the first is built-in library that is provided by Python. So for that we have to use ElementTree. Now inside this ElementTree, it provides the functions for reading and manipulating XMLs. Now what is the syntax? So here you can see that first you have to import an XML. Inside this XML package there is again a sub package which is eTree, and from inside eTree we are going to use is ElementTree, and I have created its reference as ET. The another way of parsing is using BeautifulSoup library. Again, if you recall, using HTML we have also used this BeautifulSoup library. So whenever we want to parse our XML document, so for that also we can use this BeautifulSoup library. So one thing we need to note, by default this Jupyter notebook doesn't provide us this BeautifulSoup library. So how can we do this? So for that, first we need to install this library inside our environment. So how can we do? So here you can see is we have to install it using a pip installer. So what is the syntax? The syntax is pip install BeautifulSoup. So what it will do? It will install this particular library inside your XML document. Let us work with XML document. So first XML file here is movies.xml. Inside this, whenever we want to work with XML file, so the first thing we have to use is XML tag. So we have to use angular bracket, then exclamation mark, followed by question mark, then XML keyword, version attribute, that is 1.0. Next, here I have created a root tag which is named as data. Inside this root tag data, I have created sub element which is named as country, which are of three different names. The first name is Lestine, next it is Singapore, and last it is Panama. Now inside this country element I have created sub elements. So the first element is rank, its value is 1. Second, it is year, the value is 2008. Next, it is having a GDP element and the value associated here is this. Next, I have created an element which is named as neighbor, having name equal to Austria, direction equal to west. Another neighbor element which is having name equal to Switzerland and direction equal to west. So I have ended this country tag over here. Similarly, I have created two another country tags. So the name associated with the second is Singapore. Again, it is having rank, year, GDP and neighbor. And the last, it is having a tag that is country, name equal to Panama, and the sub tags are rank, year, GDP and the two neighbors which are associated with it. Now another XML file I have also created here which is named as family.xml. So how we can create it? Similarly, first I have specified the version, second attribute I have given is encoding. Then I have created a root tag which is named as root. Inside this I have created a tag which is named as child, which is having the name equal to JAWS, attribute name equal to JAWS, attribute which is named as test, the value associated with is 0. Now the value for this particular element is JAWS likes everyone. So here I have ended this child tag. Then I have added another tag which is unique. The value associated with is add a video link here. Next child tag I have created is child, name equal to California, test equal to 1, and the California is in the US. So this is the value which is associated with this particular child tag. Next child I have created, the name is Harris, the attribute test value is 2 and Harris likes LA. The next I have created a tag which is data, and inside this there are two sub tags, that is family and size. Now let us parse this particular XML documents, that is movies.xml and family.xml. Now whenever we want to parse a particular XML file, there are two different approaches. So the first is using ElementTree and second is using BeautifulSoup. So first let us start with ElementTree. So the first thing is we need to import this particular library. So how we can import it? So we have to use import, then xml.etree.elementtree, and I have created its reference as et. Now whenever we want to work with any XML file, the first thing is we have to parse that particular XML file. So how can we parse? So for that we are having a method which is named as parse inside this element tree. So et.parse, and I have given the name as movies.xml file. Now what it will do, it will return us a tree based structure. So here I have written is my tree. Now whenever you want to get the root element that is associated with this particular file, so for that there is a method which is named as getRoot. So what it will do, it will return you the root. So let us check it. So it is giving you, that is data, as your root element, and it is giving you the location at which it is stored. Now next what I have created, I am having data as a string and I want to parse and work with this particular string data. So what I have done, I have created a variable of type string, and inside this I have written an XML code. Now whenever I want to parse data from a string, so for that again etree provides us a method which is named as from string, and inside this I have given is my string variable name, that is data. So it will return us the root. So what is the root associated with it? That is metadata. So in order to print which tag that is associated with this root, so for that we are having an attribute which is named as tag. So let us run this. So here you can see the output, that is metadata. From the file also you can see here that our root tag is meta. Inside this root tag we have created sub tag, nested tags and so on. So whenever you want to extract a root tag, so first I have what I have done from string. So I have used this method, that is from string, then I have taken this root, and dot tag attribute will give you the root tag that is associated with this. Now whenever you want to get different elements, sub elements that are present inside your XML file, so for that we are having different attributes that are associated with it. So some of the attributes are tag, attrib and text. So these are the attributes with the help of which we can extract different data. So whenever we want to extract the text, so we will use dot text. Whenever we want to get any tag, so for that we will use dot tag, and whenever we want any attribute, so for that we will use dot attrib. Now what I want to do here, I want the first child that is associated with my root element. What I want the first child of my root element. So for that again you need a root element. So let us consider this as a root, this, that is my root. Now as we know index starts from 0, so for that again I have specified the index value as 0. Now what you need the tag, which tag is associated. So for that we have to use an attribute which is named as tag. So let us run this. So here you can see it is showing us country as a first sub child that is present inside your file, which is named as movies.xml. Now whenever you want to check whether any attribute is present or not, so for that we need to use the attribute which is named as attrib. Now this attribute will return you a dictionary. So if the data is present, so it will return you a key value pair. Otherwise it will return you an empty dictionary. So let us run this. So if you have seen that particular file which was named as movie.xml, inside this there was a tag which was named as country, and inside that we have written was name equal to Lestin. So it is giving you the attribute. So the country is a tag and the name is attribute, and the value associated with it was Lestin. Now if you want to print all the tags and the attributes that are present inside your root tag, so for that what we have to do, we have to use a for loop, because we want all the tags and all the attributes that are associated. So we are executing a loop. Now we want a tag, so which attribute we will use is tag, and we also want attribute, so we will use attrib as an attribute. So let us run this. So here you can see that with the rank element there was no value associated, no attribute that was value was there, but there was no attribute associated. So it has returned an empty dictionary. But this neighbor tag was having two different attributes. So the first was neighbor, its value was name and its value was Malaysia. The second attribute was direction and its value was N. Now if we want to check what is the text that is associated with that particular tag, so for that we need to use the attribute which is named as text. So let us run. So here you can see it is printing only the text value, but here you will see it has printed 2 times none. Why? Because for that particular tag no values are associated. Now if you want to print all the child attributes and its tag, so for that again we will use a tag and its attrib. Let us run. So here you can see country, name and its value, again country, name, its value, country, name, its value. Now whenever you want to write an XML file, so it is also possible. How? So for that we have to use a write method. So inside this we have given, that is the name of our file, that is new file.xml. So before writing we need to iterate our entire document. So how we can do this? So for that we have to use our root tag, and inside this we are having a method which is named as iter, and we have given the text. So at the end what it will do, it will create a file. So let us check whether it has created a file or not. So here you can see it has created a new file which is named as new file.xml. Now the another approach for parsing an XML documents is using BeautifulSoup library. So first of all what we have to do, we have to import that particular library. So how can we do? That is from BS4 import BeautifulSoup. So whenever you want to read, so again we have to use this open function first. So it will return you the file object. So open function again takes 2 parameters. The first is name and the second the mode in which you want to open. So whenever you want to read, so we have a function that is named as read. Now whenever we want to pass it using BeautifulSoup, so we are having a method which is named as BeautifulSoup. So again it will take 2 parameters. The first is your content. So we have stored it in a variable which is named as data. So we will pass that variable directly, and the second is the format, that is XML, and we are storing it inside a variable that is bs_data. Now what we want to do, we want to find all the instances of a particular tag. So let us consider a tag which is having a name that is unique. So as we want all the tags which is having a name unique, so for that we are again having a method which is named as find_all, and inside this you have to give your tag name, and I have stored it inside a variable that is b_unique. Now if you want to extract a particular attribute of an instance, so it is also possible. So for that I have used here is find method. Inside this I have given the name of the tag and the attribute that is associated, that is name was its attribute and its value was JOS. And last what we want to see, whether a text which is named as text is present inside our tag or not. So for that we have used a method which is named as get. So let us run this and check. So for the first year line, you can see it has returned a list. Why? Because we have find all. If you recall, find all method returns a list. So again it is returning over you a list. And which tag we have found, that is unique. So it has returned 2 unique tags and its value. The next output you can see over here is of this particular child tag. So we were having a single child because we want to extract it only once, because we haven't used here find all, just we have used find. So it is giving you the name as JOS, the test value was 0 and JOS likes everyone, and at the last it is showing you year 0. Why? Because there is no such tag which is having name as test. So what we have seen how we can parse our XML documents using a built-in library, that is ElementTree, and also with the help of BeautifulSoup library. Thank you.